Below 11,000 meters, the ocean becomes something else entirely. It is no longer simply deep water. It is a realm where pressure exceeds 1,000 atmospheres, where temperatures hover just above freezing, and where perpetual darkness has persisted since the formation of the trenches themselves. We call it the Hadal zone, named after Hades, the ancient Greek underworld. And despite decades of exploration, what actually lives there remains one of the most poorly resolved questions in modern biology. The Hadal zone begins where the abyssal plain ends, at roughly 6,000 meters depth, and extends to the deepest points on the planet, nearly 11,000 meters below the surface. These are not broad, flat expanses of seafloor. They are narrow, elongated trenches formed where tectonic plates collide and one slides beneath the other. The Mariana Trench in the Western Pacific, the Tonga Trench in the South Pacific, the Kermadec Trench near New Zealand. Each is a world unto itself, separated from its neighbours by thousands of kilometres of shallower ocean floor. The sheer geographic isolation of each trench means that biological exchange between them is not guaranteed, and may in some cases be negligible over evolutionary timescales. At these depths, the environment is defined by extremes that are difficult to fully comprehend. Hydrostatic pressure at the bottom of the Mariana Trench exceeds 15,000 pounds per square inch. No sunlight penetrates below around 1,000 meters, meaning the Hadal zone has been in absolute darkness for its entire geological existence. Temperatures range from 1 to 4 degrees Celsius, depending on location and depth. Nutrient input arrives primarily as a slow rain of organic particles drifting down from the surface, a process that can take weeks to complete. Food is scarce, energy is limited, and yet, life persists. What has been documented in these trenches challenges the assumption that extreme pressure and isolation would produce a barren environment. Amphipods, small crustaceans related to shrimp, have been observed in dense aggregations at Hadal depths. Snailfish have been filmed swimming at depths exceeding 8,000 meters. Microbial communities thrive in the sediment, processing organic carbon that settles from above. These are not theoretical organisms inferred from environmental models. They have been directly observed, photographed, and in some cases collected by remotely operated vehicles and free-falling lander systems. But here is where certainty ends and honest uncertainty begins. The instruments we use to study these depths impose severe limitations on what we can know. Camera systems on landers capture only what passes through their narrow field of view, often attracted by bait. Sediment samples retrieved by coring devices represent tiny fractions of the trench floor. Pressure differences between the Hadal zone and the surface mean that many organisms cannot survive the journey upward, making live specimen study extraordinarily difficult. What we have observed is real. What we have not observed remains genuinely unknown. There is no way to estimate, with any rigor, how much of the Hadal biosphere has escaped detection entirely. The investigation of Hadal life has relied on a small number of expeditions over several decades. Early efforts used trawl nets lowered to great depths, a method that damaged specimens and provided limited ecological context. More recently, full ocean depth landers equipped with cameras and bait traps have offered direct visual evidence of Hadal fauna. Remotely operated vehicles capable of reaching these depths remain rare and enormously expensive to deploy. Each expedition adds data, but the total coverage of Hadal trenches explored by any instrument remains a vanishingly small percentage of the total area. The gaps between observations are not trivial. They span entire trench systems that have never been visited by any instrument at all. This limited coverage means that what we know about Hadal biology is drawn from a fragmentary record. we cannot state with confidence how many species inhabit these trenches. We cannot fully describe their life cycles, their reproductive strategies, or their population structures. We know amphipods are present in significant numbers at certain sites because baited traps attract them reliably. We know microbial activity occurs in Hadal sediments because chemical analysis of retrieved cores reveals metabolic signatures. But the space between these confirmed observations is vast, and filling it requires technology and funding that remains scarce. Several explanations have been offered for the biological patterns observed in Hadal trenches. One hypothesis holds that the trenches function as evolutionary traps, isolated environments where populations diverge from their shallower relatives over millions of years, producing unique species found nowhere else. Another suggests that the trenches serve as accumulation zones, where organic material funneled by the narrow topography concentrates food resources, supporting higher biomass than the surrounding abyssal plain. A third possibility is that Hadal communities are more connected than their isolation suggests, with larval dispersal or active migration linking populations across trench systems. None of these hypotheses has been definitively confirmed or excluded by the available evidence, and the truth may involve elements of all three operating at different scales and in different trench environments. The best current explanation, supported by the limited evidence available, is that Hadal trenches host a specialized but not impoverished community of organisms adapted to extreme pressure and low food availability. These communities appear to be dominated by scavenging and deposit-feeding invertebrates at the macrofaunal scale, with microbial communities forming the base of the food web. Endemism appears high, meaning many Hadal species are found only in a single trench system, though this conclusion is provisional given how little of the total habitat has been sampled. The exact unresolved question is this: how much of Hadal biodiversity remains entirely undetected? Our sampling methods are biased toward mobile scavengers attracted to bait and toward microorganisms preserved in sediment cores. Sessile organisms, slow-moving fauna, species that avoid light or disturbance, organisms too fragile to survive collection. All of these could exist in numbers and diversity that our current instruments simply cannot reveal. We do not know what we are missing because we lack the tools to detect it. This is not speculation about hidden monsters or undiscovered giants. It is a straightforward acknowledgement that our observational window into the Hadal zone is extraordinarily narrow. The Hadal zone covers less than 1% of the global ocean floor by area. It is confined to a handful of narrow trenches scattered across the Pacific, Atlantic, and Indian Oceans. And yet, it represents the deepest habitat on Earth, the final frontier of the biosphere's vertical extent. Every expedition that reaches these depths returns with evidence that life is more resilient, more adaptable, and more persistent than our models predicted. But resilience is not the same as visibility. What lives in the Hadal zone is not a mystery because we have looked and found nothing. It is a mystery because we have barely looked at all. The instruments are few, the deployments are brief, and the trenches are vast. The question is not whether life exists at 36,000 feet. That has been answered. The question is, what else is down there, beyond the reach of our cameras, our traps, and our capacity to imagine what pressure and darkness and time can produce? And that question, for now, remains open. The next time the ocean reveals something unexpected from these depths, it will not be because the organism is new. It will be because our ability to observe finally caught up with what has been living there all along, patient and unseen, in the deepest places on Earth. The Hadal zone does not guard its secrets. We simply have not yet built the eyes capable of seeing them clearly.